Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 87, and on the Oakley Podcast today, I'm going to cover a few things that are going on at Oakley Trucking right now. It's going to be more of a episode where we're talking to the owner-operator, and at the end, I also want you to give us feedback on what you think of today's episode on some of the topics we have, because we're going to get a little bit in dispatch and safety. I actually contacted the dumps, the pneumatics, and the hoppers to, hey, what's the major concerns right now? What's the hot topics going on at Oakley Trucking right now that we need to communicate with our owner-operators? And also safety a little bit. We're going to get into that just a little bit too. So, hang with us here a little bit. Going to get some good topics. Scotty Crisco, operations manager, hanging out with me and gonna help me cover some of this stuff too. So before we get started though, let's hear from our sponsor, Aero Truck Sales. Keith Wilson at Aero Truck Sales in Springfield, Missouri is currently offering $1,000 off your first month's payment when you finance with transport funding, or $1,000 off the truck price if you bring your own financing. They're also discounting the cost of an extended warranty by $500. Aero Truck Sales has been a long-time partner with Oakley Trucking, and that's because they specialize in first-time truck buyers. They don't do any leases. They have the best used trucks money can buy because used trucks is all they do. They don't sell any new trucks. And the biggest reason that Aero and Oakley are partners is service after the sale. It is very important to us at Oakley that when we refer you to a company, that they are a good company with good people. They do what they say, and they understand our requirements. So give Keith a call at 573-216-6047 for a good used truck, and tell him you heard about it on the Oakley Podcast. Aero Truck Sales, I know that spot just played, but those guys have been really good to us. They have taken care of a lot of our owner operators. They've been able to get guys financed. We had one guy that's been with us was able to buy another owner operator's truck that he was trading in on a new one, and they did the financing. It worked out great. Just good people there at Aero. So, if you got anything concerning about a truck, or you got questions about how to get a truck financed, give them guys a call up there. Keith and Trey will help you out. All right, Scotty Crisco, what's happening today, man?
Man, I'm just glad to be back in the saddle up here, talking to all these owner-operators, the life and blood and the bread and butter of what we do here. I'm glad you asked me. Glad to come up here.
Well, I know I'm bad about short notices, but I know it seems like sometimes you get better information if you're not real prepared. Yeah. You kind of get more authentic information.
Yeah, I could totally agree with that. Speak from the hip. A lot of times that's where the truth comes from.
That's right. So I tried to appreciate you coming up and doing this, knocking this out today, and let us know the operations perspective of things going on too. So Thanksgiving's over. We're back at it. We've been at it, I guess, half a week. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. It's funny how I was a school teacher before I came back to Oakley, and so the Thanksgiving break used to be, I used to really welcome it, and not that I don't now, but when you're in this business, you look at holidays slightly different because, time off is time down and from a certain point of view, and I know that it's good to spend time with friends and family, but I love coming back because you feel fresher and anxious to get after it. It seems like a lot of the owner ops are too. So
yeah, get a little break there. Thanksgiving's always a good time for sure, man. Have you got any trees in your house? You have to rake leaves.
Oh, I did that Sunday afternoon, as a matter of fact.
So what have you got a plan for that? You devised a specific plan to get rid of the leaves?
I burn them inside and we live in a neighborhood, and I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to. And the leaves got a little moisture to them this past Sunday, so I had quite the smokestack going on out there. Got some funny looks over the fence, but
I was out there doing it last night at my house on a section, and of course over the years I've only had two houses, but I developed a tactic where I just rake them kind of in a line, and then I throw this big old huge black plastic out there. I just rake them on that plastic, drag them out to the ditch in the backyard.
Yeah. Hey, that's smart.
It's pretty slick. It really is. It works pretty good. So it didn't take too long, but anyway, I was getting some of that done last night. The old leaves can always be a little tricky. But all right, enough of that. Let's get to this stuff we're going to talk about. First thing I want to talk about are the ELDs. And I know, there's that's a little tricky right now because it's the new geotab we're putting in. I was talking to safety about it, and we've got about 350 of our 800 owner-operators got them put in. And as you know, we've got them coming in about every day. We have a 10 o'clock class and a 2 o'clock class is the way safety does that. So they can get, sometimes 4, 5, 6 people in there and go through it all. And it takes a couple hours. Actually, they're in there a couple hours going over this thing while they're installing it in your truck.
Right.
So anyway, dispatch is supposed to be trying to, get you scheduled in for that to get that done because the goal is till about the end of February to have all those in and working. And, it's a change. And, man, with change comes frustration.
Yeah. I've found the older I get, the more, change just seems to bother me. And although change is the only thing that is inevitable, things are always going to change, and the resistance to it seems to grow higher in older age. And I need to get my butt down there in one of them classes. In fact, I might try to do that tomorrow's 10 a.m. class because, we need to know. I feel like I need to know about it inside and out too. So
have those dispatchers, have they not gone through that?
Yes, several of them have. Yeah, I don't know if everybody has, but
we need to follow up on that.
Yeah, everybody needs to. Need to make a list and make sure every dispatcher sits through that class. And me or Jason or Bradley or whoever in operations can handle that particular dispatcher's phone calls for a couple hours, but that needs to happen.
Well, with change, I just, I want our owner operators to know that this is not an easy decision. This is not something that, we try to make it harder on the owner-operator.
Right.
Our goal is to make it easier on the owner-operator and also protect Oakley in the event of an accident. That's what it boils down to. I mean, these days, because as y'all know, we're guilty till proven innocent when it comes to the trucking business. And with these, the new situation that we have, the cameras, I think seem to be the only hang-up. I talked to a few owner-operators, and, the parameters on the camera to when it'll say something to you, that bothers an owner-operator. I say that, I was talking to JP in safety, and he says it's a mixed bag. He said we have a lot of guys that they've told him it's made me a better driver.
Mm-hmm.
By having those parameters set, because and then you have some guys that it kind of stresses them out. They don't like a camera talking to them. So I said, well, I need to know. I want to make sure I know the parameters, and I think all of our drivers know the parameters. I just wasn't sure on some of them, and kind of wanted to clarify a little bit of that. So, have you heard any feedback on this?
I've gotten very little feedback one way or the other on the actual geotab. As far now, I'm talking about like your dispatch information being on a tablet or your cell phone now on your logs.
Yeah, that was we were having a problem with that.
Yeah,
with the next load or something
right.
being on there.
So I've received little feedback from the drivers, whether it be negative or positive on that. I do know that that the problem you're touching on there was kind of tricky because we're a lot different than most trucking companies. Where in the fact, we may, when our loads go in the box and dispatchers are trying to plan, things are constantly changing. And long story short, I'm sure most of you guys listening are aware of the fact that the glitch was that you guys were able to see the load or the loads, plural, that you were planned on. And, a lot of time that's helpful. When I was dispatching, I try to tell these dispatchers, towards the end of the day, if you're dispatching a driver and he's getting empty that evening, or he's going to be getting empty before you get to work in the morning, then you need to go ahead and get those guys dispatched so that they can plan and know what they're doing. Now, that's not always the case, and we're not always able to do that. But we know that it helps you. But as far as the glitch in the geotab, you guys were able to see loads that were not finalized yet, and I think we got that fixed.
I think some of it was if it had the wrong date, so you might be planning them on a load, tomorrow's load, but the load's been in the computer and it's got a day before, and then it gets somehow sent to them, and they think they're supposed to change up and go do this load.
Yeah, exactly. We even had a couple drivers that were, thought they were doing the right thing, and they're trying to be proactive, started heading towards their next load, even though that's not
their next load.
Right. And, it could have really gotten out of hand because our loads are so, site-specific instructions and particular materials, and washouts and whatnot. You're not just bumping a dock loading boxes. If a guy would have gone all the way, or I'm not sure if it did happen, but I mean, you can't. I start thinking worst case scenario. What if a guy goes and loads a load of soda ash without a washout, for a glass company or something like that? But I think we've got that nipped in the butt now.
Hopefully so, and I guess the moral of it is, hey, they need to make
right.
sure with their dispatcher,
yes,
what's going on, because some of that behind the scenes, that planning for them can, mess things up. So hopefully that's worked out. So back on the parameters of this camera that I was talking to safety about real quick. Now y'all probably listening probably know more than I do, to be honest with you. So don't if I say something wrong, don't get all fired up about it. This is just what I think. I was talking to JP, and that mainly the parameters are on the speeding. If it's over 6 mile an hour and you stay over 6 mile an hour for more than 10 seconds, then the camera says something to you, slow down or something to that effect. So you got 10 seconds. So also on the following too close, it's like 0.6 seconds, and you've got 10 seconds before it says anything to you. Now, I was talking to one of our owner-operators before I came up here, and he didn't think that his was doing it as soon as somebody pulled in front of him. They were kind of cutting him off in some Nashville traffic. So I had safety call him to try to figure that out, because that you're supposed to have 10 seconds to separate yourself before it says anything to you.
Right.
So, and that's if it's doing it as soon as somebody, that'll drive you crazy.
Oh, sure.
So we gotta make this, a happy medium, because, all we're doing is trying to protect the driver and Oakley Trucking with this kind of equipment and make it better for everybody. Lord, hopefully we never have to use it. That's the deal, is that hopefully you as an owner-operator, it never has to come into play, because that means if it does, that means you've had an accident. Mm-hmm. And then it's your best friend. Most of the time it's your best friend then, but you may hate it till then. But, other than that, I really, JP and safety said he was actually getting good feedback, which I mentioned earlier, that it's made a few guys better drivers. It's just like anything changed. When we went from paper logbooks to Qualcomm, everybody thought we was going to lose half the fleet. Mm-hmm. Lo and behold, we didn't. We kept going. We got through the challenges, and we moved on. So, the biggest thing I can tell our owner operators is you've got to communicate with us. And it's not that you're complaining. We got to know. Just like I was talking to this guy, and he thinks that thing's going off. As soon as somebody gets in front of him, we're driving him nuts. Well, that's something you got to communicate with us so we can try to fix it. So anyway, enough on ELDs. You got any more input on that, Scotty? I mean, I think it's going to be great. We just got to get them all in, and we got to be able to communicate to fix any problems.
No, I just like to reiterate the fact that it's a change that we're all going through, and doors are always open and phone calls are always welcome. So, I mean, if you can't get a hold of your dispatcher, you can get a hold of me or any of the rest of us. But, yeah, and at the end of the day, I think it will be a good thing.
And the last thing I want people to think, our drivers, is that we're forcing this thing on them. It's, we looked at all kinds of options. And we tried this out with 10 or 15 of our owner-operators for several months before we made a decision on what it could be. And we let those 10, 15 guys help us make that decision. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that we just, slam down the gavel and say we got to do this. I mean, this is something that's we feel like it's better for our owner-operators in the long run. So hopefully it will be, but, hey, always changes going on. Let's get to some of the dispatch issues, which you'll know more about than I will for sure, because you're in it hot and heavy every day. Real quick, we'll just go through each division and some feedback I got from the dispatchers on what needs to take place. First, starting up is the pneumatic division. And I don't know if you run into this or not, but I was talking to Bradley, and his big thing right now, and these are topics that's going on right now at Oakley Trucking, just to reiterate that it's stuff that's happening now that's important that we need to cover. But his deal was update the Qualcomm in real time. And I don't know that a lot of guys know that customers use this to track shipments and can see if we're loaded or if we've delivered.
Okay, as far as what Bradley is running into issues with, just to provide a little bit of light on the different divisions here at Oakley. I mean, each division has its own monsters, and it's the pneumatics. What I'm getting at is they're dealing with customers that, for lack of a better way to put it, just might have their britches cinched up a little tighter than a farmer getting a load of soybeans, or than a scrapyard waiting on a truck to pick up a load of Zorba. Now, not that one is any more important than the other, but in the pneumatic division, a lot of times they're dealing with chemical companies, plastic companies, refineries. So, yes, and I don't know if you've been to the grocery store lately, or my gosh, I went to a restaurant in Rogers, Arkansas the other day, and had a beer and wanted to watch a football game, and there weren't any servers. I had to use my cell phone to scan a QR code and place an order, and then one bartender would bring the drinks or whatever you wanted out. And what I'm getting at is, if you go to the grocery store, hell, you're scanning your own groceries and checking out yourself. Well, that attitude has spilled over into every industry, and this is what's going on in the freight industry. And I mean, what's going on is companies are wanting information quicker without as many phone calls or emails, or it's just like we talked about earlier.
So they can see that they have the ability to know where that load is, or they just know whether it's picked up and delivered.
Well, their software is tied in. Some of their software is tied in with ours, to where a driver, when he responds that he's loaded, or his pickup departure, and they can see that time. And likewise for delivery. So
well, and Bradley said it sure saves a lot of emails and phone calls if guys will update that Qualcomm in real time. And I know that's important on pneumatics. It's like you were talking about. You got a lot of different set of customers there that's got a lot of more red tape you got to go through, a lot more rules, a lot of things that I don't know, overanalyzed, maybe you could say, but they just need to know where that load is.
Yep.
And instead of calling us, saying us, they want to see it for themselves. Hey, that's been picked up. Where's it at?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times, even in the dump world, we'll get a call from a customer wanting to know the ETA on a truck, or if a truck's loaded or whatnot. A lot of times that truck may be on their yard. All they got to do is stand up and look out the window.
Right, yeah.
And those are the phone calls you love to field, because it's just like,
we're already there, man.
Yeah, we're there. Look out.
Now, you don't have any of that on dumps. Do we have any of that on dumps? The customers following that?
We've got. I know of one lane that I think it's out of Seneca, South Carolina, to Duncan, Oklahoma, and maybe a couple Morton salt loads, but no, not much on dumps, and I'm not sure of any on hoppers yet. But I mean, here's the deal: it starts in pneumatics, and we'll be sitting here 2 years. This will spill over into all divisions.
Well, which, talking about dumps, let's get into that. What's some of the major issues going on in the in-dump division right now that you feel like need to be communicated?
Man, I tell you, it seems to come in groves, but bent hinges right now are
We've had that conversation in the past. That's frustrating.
It is frustrating. I know it's frustrating for the driver. It's frustrating for the dispatcher. Hell, it's frustrating for everybody involved. But, you know, and we just want to know, like, if you guys ever get to a customer and you can't barn door, or they're asking you not to, or, you know, a lot of times you guys might have to back in a bay or down a, you know, where there simply may not be room. We need to know that, because number one, we would like to simply just update the customer information to where when dispatch is given, maybe say the next guy to go do that particular load, that he can warn him and say, hey, looks like, you know, we don't have room to open our door at this particular customer, so let's make sure that, you know, we dump some out, put her back down, pull forward. You know, sticking that door in the pile, not only is it, you know, you're losing time and money for downtime, but I mean, you know, it's...
Well, then we got to get it fixed.
You got to get it fixed.
And the driver pays for it.
The driver pays for it. You're not, you know, you're going to, wherever you're at, you're going to either have to go to Alliance, Ohio, or North Little Rock, Arkansas on your own dime, because that's the only two spots that we get them fixed at. So, you know, that, and we are quickly approaching. I looked at the temperatures the other day. I was watching a football game up in, well, it was the Ohio State-Michigan game, and it was snowing.
I saw that, spitting snow on those
yeah,
guys.
You know, I'm standing on my back porch grilling burgers, you know, so I mean, the frozen loads, especially on the dump side, kind of sneaks up on you because you don't realize how cold it is up north already. So over the course of years, through trials and tribulations and mistakes and whatnot, we've come up with a spreadsheet for customers on a lot of times you can treat your trailer with different materials to prevent freezing. So we just ask that you guys check with your dispatcher, you know, now that the weather's getting cold, on what you can put down. Some customers are, you know, you can put down almost anything from canola oil to diesel to antifreeze. And then there's some customers that will only allow certain types of lubricants to be put down. So just get with dispatch. If you're going to load a material that you're afraid might have moisture in it.
I was talking to one of our owner-operators, been here 7 years, and I was quizzing him about that a little bit earlier today. And, you know, he is very sharp on all these loads. He said the main thing you got to think about, he said, is where you're going, what is the temperature going to be?
Right.
Especially if you're loading on Friday and delivering Monday.
Oh, yeah.
What's the temperature going to be when you get there Monday, or this setting over all weekend? What's the temperature going to be, and you're going to have problems. So you got to think about that a little bit ahead of time. But he said there's tricks to a lot of the stuff that we haul, that whether it was Coke out of Birmingham, he sometimes has to put salt down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. And then he was telling me about getting cooking spray at the Dollar General, and doing that on some of the feed and DDG. He was talking about getting in the trailer and just kind of spraying it like a mist all the way as he walked back to the front of the trailer.
Yeah.
And it would act like what he put it, like you're cooking an egg.
Yeah.
And he said that it helps so much to get that stuff out of there. RV antifreeze, he said, was cheaper than regular antifreeze.
Yeah, and I don't know what the deal. We have customers that specifically request RV antifreeze, so I don't know what the difference is.
He was talking about that with some rock. So, it's there are, he said one of the issues. I mean because that's something it's hard for us to tell in the beginning on a guy just starting out here. Here's what you got to do. It's almost got to come from these guys that's been here a while, or the trainer training them will help a lot.
For sure.
If they understand that too. So you just got a lot of it is common sense. If this stuff is going to be damp, or even if it's not going to be damp, but if you're going to run into some ice cold weather, you better be thinking about some of that stuff so none of it sticks in the trailer.
And dispatch should be looking at where you're taking your 10-hour break too. Checking the weather there.
That's a good point.
But yeah, these owner ops, they lean on each other, and they're the eyes and ears, and they're the guys out there that.
Now, let's talk about the incident that happened today. with one of our owner operators.
Oh boy.
And raised up a trailer. Where was that at?
Today. It was in Madison, Illinois. We had this happen about less than 60 days ago down at Greenville, Mississippi. Both drivers were pulling steel trailers with the retractable mesh tarps. You know, when you open those things up or close them, those things are sticking up in the air 15, 20 feet above the trailer.
They said he didn't get into the wire.
I don't think either one of them did. I looked at the pictures from the first one down in Greenville and talked to that customer down there, and then today it sounds like it didn't touch the power line either. But thing is the electricity running through those lines is so daggum strong it can jump, and that's what's happened both the last times.
Yeah, they were. Luckily, he's not going to spend the night in the hospital tonight, I think, but he's okay. Seems to be right now. I mean, I don't know what damage. I hadn't got the word yet on what damage it caused on trailer and stuff. But more importantly, is him. Worried about him, and he's an experienced owner operator. Has been with us a while. That pays attention and is very good, very safe driver, and watching what he does.
Yes.
And so don't think stuff can't. You've been doing it a long time that you got it figured out, because that's when it'll reach up and bite you. But,
yeah, and just so happens that both these past instances were those steel trailers with the retractable tarps. But it can happen. You
think that's something to do with it? Maybe.
Well, it's just, I think maybe
like an arm up there that gives it a way to arc or something.
Yeah, I think so. And I think another thing is maybe there's a little bit of sense of. I'm not, you're not raising your trailer up. It's not like he raised his trailer into a power line. He's simply untarping or tarping. You know what I mean?
The arms are going over it.
So, I think maybe for lack of a better word, maybe lackadaisical, or just, kind of going through the motions, because I could see where, you can look around and think, well, I'm not raising my trailer up. You go start cranking that tarp and forget how high that thing gets,
It does get up there high. I've seen that out here on the yard in front of the shop before. It does. But hopefully he's all right. And you just guys got to watch all that kind of stuff. So on the hoppers, do you have anything else you want to cover on the end dumps? It's a priority?
Physicals. We've run into a couple problems lately where drivers have kind of almost waited to the last minute to get your physical done. And the problem is, just like I had to go to the DMV the other day, and I sat there for 2.5 hours, and it was so frustrating. And I know everybody listening has had a bad experience with the state, the government, or the DMV. And likewise goes with your physical. Even though you get your physical and you get your letter from your doctor and whatnot, until your state clears you, then you're not legal to drive.
Still not going to work for us.
Exactly.
I mean, that used to be you walk out with that physical in hand. All right, I'm good to go. Well, now we got to submit it to the state and hear back from the state. And we've talked about this before on earlier podcasts. It depends on that state. Some states take several days. Some states are instant. Some states, maybe one state left, you actually have to walk it in to them and get it done. So we do that for the owner-operator here. We can do that for them if they don't want to do it, because we do it every week for the guys coming in orientation. But that's definitely that physicals, any of that stuff that's due. It goes with any paperwork, maintenance report, all the stuff that if it's your responsibility as a truck driver to get this stuff done, you are making things a lot simpler if you have it done before it expires.
Right.
Simple deal. Hoppers, hopper division, I had a couple of things I talked to them about. One of them was PPE. Evidently, we've got a little bit lax on our personal protective equipment at some places, and our customers get irate when we do that. And, I guess to defend a truck driver, each customer's got different rules. So you may go to one that's laid back and do whatever you want to do, and you go to the next one, you can't even get out of the truck.
Yeah.
You've got to pay attention to the PPE, and our dispatch ought to know that, if you want to ask, hey, what's the requirements there? if I've never been there, then maybe we should find out and communicate that with them. I don't know, but
yeah, we're not hauling hay. We need to, we're not to knock anybody that's hauling hay, but that's not what we're hauling. So being professional and having all your PP&E, long pants, steel-toed boots.
Another thing, and this frustrates me more than anything, is you got to communicate when you're not going to be on time. And you would think, that that's common sense with most truck drivers. Hey, if I'm not going to make an appointment, I've got to let somebody know.
Yeah.
And does it happen about every day, Scotty?
Almost every single day. And what's sad about it, Jeremy, is a lot of times, especially right now, as in high demand as the truck and the truck driver are right now, customers are willing to work with us more than I've ever seen them be willing to work with us. So, a lot of times if a guy doesn't communicate with his dispatcher and then the dispatcher follow through with who booked the load and whatnot, a guy might end up having to sit overnight where, we could have made arrangements with the customer to wait on him or something along those lines if you're running late. Or if you're running early, a lot of times, you're set to load at 10 a.m. and you can be there at 8 a.m., maybe, a phone call to the customer, And I'm not saying that's always going to work, but I will say this, you're not giving us a fighting chance if we don't know about it.
Right. Even if it's – what about nights and weekends?
Call us. I mean, when I was dispatching, my attitude is if you're working, I'm working. And that's the way I think everybody here should be. And, everybody's got stuff going on, so maybe a dispatcher doesn't answer on the first couple phone calls. Well, you've got my number. I know, at least I think on y'all in orientation, y'all still give out the yellow cards?
Yes, so we issue a card with everybody's name and number on there.
Yeah. Go right down the list. Start calling somebody because, we can't solve a problem if we don't know about it.
Yeah. You might give it a few minutes because a lot of times I don't answer the phone if I don't know the number. And they leave me a voicemail. I call right back. Sometimes it takes a few minutes for me to get that voicemail, and then I can call them back and see what's going on.
Especially this time of year because a bunch of people are in the deer woods.
So, out of service type deal.
Out of service, and so just go right down the line
But I promise you, you're not bothering anybody.
Oh no.
Trying to get a hold of somebody when you've got a legitimate problem. We have got to hear from you, especially with, talking about a customer's freight. We have got to hear from you on what's going on with that. So you got to be able to get in touch with somebody at Oakley Trucking, even if it's Randolph, and he's the only number you got. You call Randolph because Randolph will call me, and we'll get it. We'll get it handled.
Certainly not bothering us. Actually, you're actually doing us a favor. So.
Yeah. Whole lot better than finding out the next morning or Monday morning, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But especially if the customer finds out before you do.
That's the worst.
That's the worst. That's worst. So, also the hoppers, those guys said, any issues with your trailers, man, be sure and stay on them. Let them know that you got to get it addressed quickly as possible, so we can do that. If you're having issues with getting some trailer work done, man, call somebody. And hey, this is something else. So as a driver, you know who your dispatcher is. Well, I know you don't know a lot of the other people. Like a lot of people may not know Scotty, supervisor, over some of these dispatchers. So to me, you guys need to ask, hey, if I can't get a hold of you, Austin, who do I need to call next?
Right.
They need to know who his supervisor is, so it makes things a little bit simpler, and they don't feel like they're just calling anybody. And if you don't know who your who your dispatcher supervisor is, you need to ask him today and get his number, and that way you got two people to contact when you have issues. I've been meaning to say that a long time, but back on the equipment issues, man, you got to get stuff fixed. For sure. And all these things that I'm talking about today, me and Scotty are talking about, I'm going to give you a chance to send a rebuttal, I guess you would say. I want to hear from our drivers on some of these topics, and I'm going to give out my email address and my cell phone so you guys can reply to me, and or you can call me too here in the office, and to help us add to some of this stuff that we're talking about. But first, let's hear from our other sponsor, Lube Zone. Cold weather and batteries don't go together. That's why Lube Zone is rolling out battery services this month at their locations. Get a battery test for free, a $30 value, and get a full system electrical test for $49.99, a $70 value. Lube Zone currently has 11 locations throughout Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, and California, with more on the way. They can do annual DOT inspections along with CSA inspections without making an appointment. Lube Zone thrives on giving great customer service to the truck driver, offering full service disclosure and advice without the intent to upsell additional products to you that you don't need. But don't forget what Lube Zone is famous for. Fast is back. Their goal is to provide good PM services as quick and efficient as possible so you can get back on the road. They offer 3 major oil brands, Shell, Delo, and Mobil products, along with OEM-approved filters. Stop by one of their locations and let us know how your experience was. Check out lubezone.com for all their locations and tell them you heard about it on the Oakley Podcast. One other thing I was wanting to talk about real quick, we're about to run out of time, but that's okay, is what to do if you are taking off for a long period of time. And this has happened a bunch the last couple of years, to where we have owner-operators that are having to take off. I mean, either health reasons, and I'm not talking about a week. I'm talking about months. Mm-hmm. Truck parts can't get, sold my truck, waiting on a new one to come in, COVID, different scenarios. And, you know, it's always kind of, well, what do I do when this happens? Well, that's a really good question, because it seems like each scenario is a little bit different. One of the main concerns is how long are you going to be off? And if you're off for, you know, a month or two, then we can stop some deductions on your settlement, because you're going to still have your insurance that comes out every week that you don't want to stop that. You want to have insurance on your truck. But we can stop some of the other things, whether it's TransFlow or escrow, that kind of stuff we stop, you know, and it's not building up for when you come back. The other thing is the trailer. We're going to have to make a decision. One, where is the trailer at? And 2, if it's going to be a while, then we either need to come get it, or if you know you're going to be off a while, drop it at one of our places before you take off. So that's a big deal. And we fight this every week. I don't guess we fight it, but we talk about it, the off list, mm-hmm. the dreaded off list. So everybody got their off list done, because we try to keep tabs on that, man, because you got equipment out there that you got to know about. You got owner-operators out there that you got to touch base with every week. You look up, I mean, how fast does a week go by here?
Oh, my gosh, it flies by. I was going down sometimes when we're helping dispatchers plan, I'll go right down their list truck by truck, and I came across one today. You know, he hasn't worked since July, and he's waiting on a part for a depth sensor, you know, something. Yeah. And I'm just like, my gosh, I mean, yeah, it'll get away from you.
It'll get away from you, and we got to stay in contact with you. So we want you to contact us every week, and just keep us up to date with what's going on. And we've had I'll tell you what, we've had a lot of instances this year. Is we've had owner-operators that have been broke down, drive for other owner-operators here that have had health problems.
Right.
You know, they're out with, we had one gentleman that had a broke ankle for a while. Mm-hmm. And we had another guy that his truck was down, so we put them together. And he got to drive his truck, because all you got to do is jump in and go. You're all qualified. Yeah. You know, jump in it and go. And we've had that several times with guys. We've got it going on right now. Yeah. With that happening with one of our owner-operators, got 2 trucks here. You know, he pretty much is how he makes a living is, you know, with that truck, is putting our guys already set up in it. Yeah. For a month or 2.
Right. He's kept that truck busy for a while doing that.
So if you're off and you know you're going to be off, I mean, discuss that with your dispatcher. Stay in contact with him weekly. Call me, let me know what's going on. We want to make sure we stay in touch with you. And we know you got to work, you got to do something. Just let us know what's going on. You know, you got to make a living. So other than that, how did the $750 go for Thanksgiving Day pay?
I think it generated some interest. I do want to, and I don't want to sound like a horse's patoot or anything, but that is designed to take care of guys that are away from the house, number one, and working. I think there was some confusion on guys, that maybe got home Thursday morning, or
I figured that was going to come into play.
what I mean. I mean, it's hard to blame a guy. $750 is a lot of money, but overall, I think it went well. And here's the deal: it's there because we need you right now, and the customers need you. I know a couple times we had owner operators get in maybe a tough spot, on it. Just seems like always on Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's like the old dispatcher truck driver adage. It's like you got customers that need trucks in spots where the trucks aren't, so a lot of times it's hard to match it up and make it work. But I think we needed trucks in Louisiana on the end dump side this past week, so it worked well. For any of those guys that were able to nab that $750, I'm sure appreciate everything that you guys do for us, and we know that you were away from your friends and family on the holiday.
And we're going to pay it for Christmas too.
And we're going to pay it for Christmas too. And it's hard to gauge the freight market this far out for a holiday like Christmas, but my gosh, if it's anything like what it's been over the past 8 to 12 months, I can't imagine. If you want to stay busy, we'll be able to keep you busy.
Yeah,
we'll find.
And it's
something
on
for you.
Is it on a Friday or Saturday? What is it on? I think it's on a weekend this year.
It is on a weekend this year.
So that may curb a lot of that right there.
Yeah,
you just
true.
have to see what happens there. But all good stuff all around Christmas time. You know what I'm doing for Christmas?
What's that?
Going to New York City.
Are you really? Whew.
New York City. So I have a 23-year-old son that moved to New York City, Cole Kellett, and I tell you, I'm so proud of him for taking the courage to get a job on purpose, get a job up there in New York City, and then move his tail up there.
I'd be interested to pick his brain. I bet he's got some stories.
He does. He's loving it. So we're going up there to see him because we haven't seen him in we got to see him early October, and then we haven't seen him since. So we'll get FaceTime's great, man.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for FaceTime.
I've never been up there. I've been to Los Angeles, and I actually lived out there for about a year, and that's about all I wanted of that. So that's interesting.
It's been a long time since I've been up there. I have been up there, but it's been a long time. So I'm looking forward to going to New York City, and my youngest son's going with us. So it ought to be an interesting time.
You ought to drum us up some business while you're up there. I know all our owner-operators love going to New York City.
They love going up there.
We need some more loads in New York City.
They're constantly telling us, can I go to New York City?
Yeah, send me to New York, please.
That's what these guys coming in orientation to. Can I go to New York City? Oh, my. All right, well, all I got, that's all I pretty much got. How about you, Scott?
Man, that's it. I appreciate
I think it's good information.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying I appreciate you having me in here. And, I mean, I just wanted to take a minute just to express true, genuine appreciation for all the guys that are sticking with us. And I know that there's a lot of green grass on the other side of the fence being thrown around out there. I'm aware of that. But I drove into the yard this morning, and it's just kind of gets me pumped up every time I cross the levee and see a bunch of road trucks getting ready to go to work. And just appreciate everything you guys do, man.
They do a good job, and I'm glad to have you guys as owner-operators, and appreciate everything. Hope this little segment, this episode was helpful for you. If you got some comments on some of this stuff that we talked about, and I really do, I really want you guys to communicate with us, good or bad. I can handle it. I'm a grown man. Me and Scotty can take it. You send it to me. You can call me. You can text me on my cell phone, 501-733-1206. You can email me, jkellett@bruceoakley.com. You can call me on the phone. I'm here every day, Monday through Friday, so you can call me on that. And anytime you feel a need that you need to communicate something with the company, because our job is to make this a better company, and we can't do that without the owner operator. So you got to remember, we're on the same team here. your tractor pulling our trailer, and we all got to make a living doing it. So appreciate everything you guys do. Hey, check out next week. Got a great episode coming up on talking about financial retirement, or what this guy, I got a guy coming in that's financial advisor next week, and he's going to be really good sharing some information with you guys on being financially independent, I believe is what he said. So appreciate everybody listening. Share this stuff out there. Check us out on YouTube. Put out a podcast every week, so let us know what you think about the Oakley Podcast, and we'll talk to you next week.